I'd like to call the June 16th, 2022 Airport Commission meeting to order. Will the airport manager please call the roll?
Taufest.
Here.
Olson. Bias. Eoff.
Here.
And Stenga.
Here. Item 2, approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Approval of minutes, March 17th, 2022 regular minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Scheduled public comments and presentations. None. Action items. None. Airport manager report.
Okay, thank you, Chair Stenga. I know it's a beautiful day out there and we all have places to be. So I will be pretty brief, but I'm always happy to answer any questions or dig into any items as requested. The first item, mid-biennium budget update, included in your packet is a copy of the council-approved budget update for the airport fund. Just a real brief synopsis, no significant change from years past. We're pretty much staying status quo. Once we paid off the interfund loan from the general fund that allowed us to provide our local match required for some of the FAA grant projects, the 6.25% that we're required to supply. We had borrowed money from the general fund in order to have that match. Those funds have been paid off. And as has been the case for quite a few years now, the airport fund is, fully in the black and generating a fund balance. A meager one at that, but we are positively climbing. The first page is kind of a narrative on the airport itself, and then identifies the full-time equivalent employees assigned to the airport. You can see the different folks there, including maintenance manager Sundberg, myself, the public works director. Portions of our FTE equivalent or FTE time is apportioned to the airport.
So this range is like 20 is?
The range is the salary scale for the employees. So it's different depending on the employee. And then the full-time equivalent ratio there just indicates the percentage of the allocation towards the airport. So for example, that first one, maintenance manager department, 15% of Scott's time is allocated towards the airport fund, charged to it. And then you can see some of the other funds that are hit. Myself, as public works director, only 20% of my time is allocated towards the airport and cost the airport. And then you can see public works admin, 65%, water, sewer, and wastewater treatment plant also pays a portion of my position. So really an amazing administrative effort, for running our airport. Next page, you can see the recap for operating revenues, FY19 through 23. The bracketed columns there is the biennium budget, FY22 original budget, and FY23 original. The mid-biennium adjustment, you can see the bracketed columns are what we had originally planned in the budgeting document. This my mid-biennium adjustment, and that just denotes the fact that last year we went to our first 2-year budget cycle, and then we still revisit it after 1 year and make minor adjustments as needed. These are the minor adjustments. You can see a little bit of housekeeping with the PERS relief funding through the state, which is not our manipulation. The bulk of it is, if you go to the next page, you'll see, sorry, that's the maintenance operations and salaries and benefit. The third page, which is page 80 of the budget, you can see the changes that were made in the FY23 budget. And fuel is the big one. We had anticipated $11,000 in fuel expenditures, and we're upping that to $18,000 for FY23. Minor increase in insurance. Our insurance is on a 3-year cycle, and we just went through the process of renewing that, so a slight increase. And then again, the PERS on behalf. So no real changes from the last approved budget. Probably the most interesting thing to note that has not changed is under contracted services. You'll see we got fence repairs, grass mowing, and then other contracted services, a pretty big jump in '23 which was planned. On the final page, you can see the FY '23 budget notes increased to include marketing/promotional consulting services. And I think last year I kind of discussed a little bit of the intention behind that, and that's the 60 some odd acres of riverfront property that's outside of the security fence that is airport property that we recognize should be looked at by a professional. So this doesn't mean that we're planning on making any changes there other than to have an airport professional assist us with some type of a review of highest and best use. Is it to market it for aviation use and airport-related stuff? Is it hospitality things that enhance the airport or the community, as long as the revenues are being used for the airport fund? It's also taking a look at our facilities on that airport land, including the maintenance shop on Funny River Road and the boneyard, which is probably not the best use of that really amazing riverfront property, you know, and what would we do with that shop and the boneyard if it was, you know, in use for something else. So that's on the docket for the following year, and is probably kind of the most unique thing in our upcoming budget. I think that really concludes my report on item 1. Item 2, capital projects update. This is a pretty quick one. As you're all aware, last year we rebuilt our runway. That project's currently at about 98%. I just did a pay estimate for about $100,000, which was primarily a change order to replace the voltage regulators in the AWAS building. We had an opportunity to replace those under this grant, and we're able to get that done just a couple months ago. We're moving the big giant units out, saving one, and disposing of the other one. The remaining work is primarily hydroseed and some site work stuff. I think their hydroseeder broke down last week. Is that right, Scotty? Yeah. Friday, Saturday. So a little bit of cleanup. FAA has finalized the PAPI installation that was kind of pending too. There was a pretty lengthy punch list for the electrical contractor to wrap up, and FAA gave that their blessing recently as well. So that one's nearing completion. Any questions on the capital project update? Grant update, item number 3 here. Just wanted to note a couple of the action going on with grants, current grants and future grants. We are submitting our closeout paperwork for the snow removal equipment building. It was closing out at about $2.95 million. Really successful project from the city's perspective. Had a on time, on budget project that is really meeting our needs. So that 6-month closeout process is on about month 4, so we still got a couple more months to go, but all the paperwork and everything is finalized. Coming up, capital projects. We've been fortunate to complete most of our asphalt projects. Again, the low-hanging fruit that we've got planned for the future is the obstruction removal, which is primarily trees on airport property, not trees on the refuge, but trees that are on airport property that are identified as obstructions. That's about a $300,000 project, estimated a year and a half ago, so it's probably a $400,000 project today. And then equipment purchases, either a broom attachment or a loader and sand spreader type piece of equipment. So we're still kind of analyzing that. And I'm racing through things, but stop me if you have any questions. Item number 4, airport access, signage, and vehicle traffic. This is an item that's been brought to my attention and stuff that I've noticed as I've been out there looking at different things. The first one, airport access. I did receive an inquiry from airport user asking about the new not auto gate, but keyed gate at the Shreb building that we utilize to access the airport from the Shreb building. Wanted to bring that up as a discussion item with the commission regarding airport access. Our intention has been that that would be a maintenance-only access point, trying to keep access in one of the two locations, particularly because we have one airport guidance is to minimize access points. We also have camera systems and security at those locations. The second item, signage. We've noticed that there's more and more signage getting placed on airport property, mainly the fence and a few other locations. Wanted to bring up a discussion about that. I believe the administration and perhaps the commission addressed this a couple of years ago, but it was more of a political signage issue that was brought to our attention. I had consulted the attorney who advised that we can indeed not have lessees putting political signs. That's not what this was about, but it may come up this fall. This is more about just signage on the fence, signage on airport, airport infrastructure. Do we want to just reach out to folks and say, hey, we, respectfully would like you to keep signs on your lessees improvements and things of that nature. So,
like my for sale sign? Seriously?
no, I don't remember that one.
They put one out so you could see it coming down both sides of the road. We want to get it sold.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I usually turn in at the main entrance, so I just barely miss your Funny River, although I blow by to go to the shop. No, there's some training banners that are up there. There's the little memorial thing that we've talked about a little bit. That's a difficult conversation. I think you were going to check in with Salty on that with DOT. But there was some training banners and then hangar for sale banners on the fence, pretty much on the fence type stuff. So I don't know what the commission's feelings are about that, but wanted to bring that up. And then the final item is vehicle traffic. That's just recognizing that we've got growth at our airport, new hangars getting built, more folks and more users, which is great and what we want. And this kind of circles back to the airport access issue. We want folks to go through the main gate, but then they're required to kind of traipse through the airport, through the taxiways and areas and their vehicles to access hangars at the periphery of the airport. So it might be an education thing about, proper behavior on the airport and vehicular movement and things of that nature. But certainly some outreach on the admin part to remind folks to drive slowly, access their hangars via the taxiways in a safe manner. They are in aircraft movement areas. Stuff that a little airport that's grown up needs to probably address. That would be my intention as airport administration to reach out to users in various different ways. So be happy to understand more or get any info from commissioners on airport access, that gate at the Shreb. I think that the Shreb, sorry, the snow removal equipment building, their new building.
Oh, okay.
We've got a gate and a gate. When we built, and I think that's what Brian's here probably has his big interest in, the new hangars that were constructed there, the T hangars are filling up. There's a lot more users. And during construction, we had given the code to the builder and the lessee because it made sense. We didn't want construction traffic and construction going through the main airport. And then about 5 or 6 months ago, we did what we had intended to do and changed the code and made that a maintenance access only, right? We encourage people to use the main entrance or the cameras in. But now we've got a lot of users that have approached me and have interest and said, hey, is there a way that we can either get a code or card reader or some type of access so that we have quick access to the hangar? It's been our recommendation at the administration level to maintain singular, or right now we've got kind of dual access where the cameras are at the east end.
What's you're the closest hangar to that gate, so I assume you're wanting access to that.
It doesn't make any sense for me or John, the builder, who's going to approach you.
use that and then hit that microphone and then, there should be a button there, should go green. Yeah. And then just, your name and address so that the clerk doesn't scold me tomorrow.
There we go. Bill Bryant, 925 Ames Road, Kenai. I own a hangar and also lease property from the Salata Airport over there. So I have one of the new hangars there, and I know Derek's brother John also said possibly they would approach you guys about putting another gate in, which didn't make sense to me because there's already a gate there. So, and it's nice to be able to, I can leave out the gate, right, because it's got a sensor on it. But it'd be nice to have access to that end so I don't have to drive all the way down through there to get to
What's your feeling about if there is a public gate there and you're the closest hangar there?
Yep.
And that, at least I would expect a whole lot of people would start using that for the main entry. What would your opinion be on if that turns into the main traffic flow right by your hangar there?
Well, that I wouldn't want to, so what I would like to do is the hangar owners get a key card access, something that you can make it a little bit more private, I guess, and let most everybody else use the other gate. Because I see what you're saying, Jim.
No, I'm just asking.
No, I know. It was a concern of mine because people naturally will take the first entrance into the airport. That's the way it works. So what I would like is either a key code or just a card. That way a card can have access to it. So, and that would make more sense. And then also too, it was asked about a camera there, and the plan is to put internet there on our building, and we could put a camera up there for camera on the gate also too. So I know that's a concern. It's a concern for me too, because I know we've had issues out there in the airport before, and I don't want to have those issues again.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the camera system that Scotty or whoever's put up is, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because we've all, there's even been, I know, some gas theft here this spring, but
Oh,
not
has there?
confirmed.
Okay.
So it hasn't been, it's like, well, I'm sure my tanks were full and now they're empty.
Yeah,
in the
right.
plane, but it's like, I don't know.
Right,
It's on
right.
slow for 3 weeks.
Right.
So, I don't know, I understand Bill's deal, I'd love to go in there too, even though I'm not one of the owners, but I also get, I get your thing, but I also understand the concerns of the city.
I think there's a way to compromise there, personally, but I'm just one of the guys that owns one of the hangars there, so all I do is come in and try to be involved and ask about it, so.
I did some research and read through some of our guidebooks and FAA guidance and ACRP documents, and it doesn't appear that there is a hard, fast FAA regulation that prohibits or limits the access points. It's because we're a small GA airport, we do have the ability to make those choices ourselves.
How would be the best, if the city did move forward with that, how would be, what's the restrictive level? Obviously, the hangar owners of the property that's close.
Yeah, we would certainly recommend that CCTV is utilized because that has proven to be a very important tool for us. Badging is ideal. The cost curve to get there is a little bit high. We've also had a bad experience with badging on the east end. We just went away from it. Probably the easiest thing would be, and I'm hopeful this brand new gate allows us to have different key codes. The problem with key coding is you got to have some faith and trust in handing out the codes, because once you give them out, they can be farmed out.
And then that's only on ingress, not egress. Right now, it's automated egress, right?
Correct. Right now, the sensor loop lets people out.
Is that gate designed? I've gone out it. Is that gate designed to be a high-use gate?
That's one concern I have is maintenance. So allowing the construction, we let Connect, we also let the builders go through there. We have had to work on it quite a few times already where, our green gates have gone up for 20 some odd years. So that is something that we need to look into with that style. We've had some problems with the chain and, but if we did limit, if people did decide it, It would worry me to have lots of access through
Yeah.
there, in and out, in and out, in and
Is
out.
there a
It
way
would
to
be a
get
concern.
a grant in your next grant writing for a new style
To the
high
pull-up
use
gates.
gate?
Possibly.
Mr. Grant Man?
Yeah, hey, I know, and it's, I mean, that's the topic these days. There
But
are
then it
Google
would turn
grants.
into,
Yeah.
if you did that, it wouldn't be a exclusive entry.
Right.
Well, you
Right.
could still make it a swing gate, but you could make it key code or
Yeah.
code or whatever you
Yeah.
wanted to. It
Right.
just, it
And then
would just be a
we
different style
did
gate.
discover at 5 below or 3, 4 below, the gates just stopped working. We have not figured that out yet.
The
So
slide one
Yeah.
down by his,
they literally will stop working in the afternoon, at temperature warm up, and they take off. So that's another issue we're working on with those particular
Really?
style gate. Yeah, it's interesting.
wow.
Both sides.
Still some gremlins, okay.
Well, I completely get where he's coming from. I think if I had a hangar there, I'd want the same thing. But I also understand the city's concern on liability and possible maintenance.
Yes, liability, possible maintenance, security and control at the airport for various different reasons, and then animals too is really a big pain in our butt when they get left open, or if there's another, anytime a moose or caribou or something gets in there.
I know for a fact Mr. Bryant's a pretty good shot.
Well, if things disappear, that's not a bad thing, but Scotty's crew's spent a lot of time mitigating that, because that could be a bad situation. So I will Scotty and I will work on putting together a proposal. We'll consider limiting access to folks in a certain proximity of it. We will look for a grant to potentially improve it to a high-use gate.
Maybe as a deterrent for everybody to come down and wanna get a key, make it for a little stipend in there, you know, say it cost you $100, $50. I don't know, I'm just
Right.
thought, I don't know. Would
Yeah,
that,
I'd like to see it limit access, because you said, I think if it makes it public, everybody's gonna be coming in that end of it
Yeah.
instead of there, so.
Yeah.
I think whatever is done, either whether it's giving us a key code or giving us a card, whatever will work, and limit it to the access down there on that end, so.
Okay. Well, it sounds like there's general consensus of the commission for the administration to look into developing a policy on this gate. And we will put something together and bring it back either before your next meeting or at the latest at your next meeting.
And like I said, you could talk to John, because I know he was pretty adamant about helping to put a camera up there to look at the gate too. So
We'd love to partner with.
And we did give him permission while they're still building,
Right.
to use it. So he's got a code while they're
Right,
continuing to build out there.
and you know, maybe if you did go for some money for a new gate or a camera system or something like that, you know, you could use a sell point of, because there is so much more use down at that end, it's, you know, the traffic is flowing down through a main taxiway, and that would eliminate that.
Yeah, and that's item 3 here, vehicle traffic, and there is actually some detrimental aspects to the growth and, proliferation down there. We love it. We want more hangars built, we want more users, but with that becomes more non-aviation use. While they're accessing their hangars, it's,
I think when that whole west end, when it does start to get developed more, there's gonna be more users.
Right.
And then I think that gate is gonna have to become a main access
I
point.
think it'll have to be, yeah.
It's gonna have to be to
Yeah.
take up just like the one down by Samaritan's
Yeah,
Purse.
it grew up enough. We had to
I
do
mean,
it.
I can only compare it a little bit to the Kenai Airport, and they have the other, where Derek built his other hangars, they had a key deal, and I think a lot of Kenai has key, card access to the Kenai Airport, right? I'm not 100% sure, but,
They do, yeah.
okay, so.
right. But I think they're like the hospital. They know who swiped it.
Right, and eventually maybe Soldotna will have to go to that too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
we're not there yet, but if it keeps developing like we all hope it will, good possibility.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds good. We will work on that and bring something back before the commission.
Okay.
And,
And if you wanna go back then, if we're done with that, back to the signage
yes,
issue.
sir. Yep.
My belief is, or my feelings are, there shouldn't, I think, like his hangars where he's at, if they're for sale, put a sign on the building itself or in front of the building on each side, not on the fence. Float training, not on the fence, because the next thing that's gonna happen is, I mean, I don't know, I just think you're opening a can of worms. And the city has a pretty strict sign code.
What they do.
And all of a sudden, you're allowing one part of the city not to have any
Yep.
govern any rules at all. I don't know, that's my 2 cents.
It would be my recommendation that it's a very clean delineation to say that the airport fence is off limits for
I think if I were to sell
non-municipal
any
signage.
of my hangars, I'd feel like I should put them on the buildings and not
Yep.
on the fence.
Yes. And that, if I remember correctly, was the attorney's answer to the political signage was, hey, if they're putting it on their building, that's probably gonna be okay, but not on the city infrastructure.
The memorial one, I think Mr. Sundberg's gonna have to,
Yeah,
I won't comment on
yeah,
that.
it's been his to navigate. Okay, any other comments on item 6A?
Commission Chair report, I have no report. Maintenance Department Manager report, Mr. Sundberg.
So I will introduce Mr. Sundberg, not that I have to do any introductions, but I do want to back up 1 second. So the purpose here is, you know, we have worked a little bit on our snow removal policies. It's obviously, this last year, we had a snowfall that was way beyond what we've had in a long time and been able to deal with both in the city and at the airport. The council had to do a supplemental mid-year appropriation to add more fuel funding for the city to include the airport and the streets
And trucks.
and the truck hauling, et cetera.
Pit.
So the reason I want to jump in is what I want to do today is have Scotty kind of explain the current protocol and process and policies for our snow removal, and then to get feedback from the commission so that next meeting we'll have an actual action item policy to have in front of you guys to be officially adopted. That we would be able to publish, make sure that we communicate that to everybody. That way everybody's on the same page, they understand what they can and can't expect.
Could we bring feedback in
Absolutely,
between, I mean,
Absolutely,
between
yep.
now and then rather than?
absolutely, yep,
Yeah.
yeah, email me, give me a
Talk to-
call,
Yeah.
reach out.
Please
Yeah.
do.
Yep, we would love that. And I'm gonna let Scotty kind of give a rundown of what we do at the airport, but first I wanted to back up a little bit. Mid-biennium budget. Again, it's a 2-year budget. After 1 year, we revisit it, make the minor tweaks that we need. Well, one of these tweaks is focused on snow removal, particularly at the airport. You saw we increased the fuel in our airport budget. In the maintenance budget, we also increased our contracted services for buildings. So traditionally, our crew will do a lot of the snow removal at our city buildings, library, police station, city hall, different areas. We do have a contractor that we call out as needed, but Scotty scrimps dollars, saves money, taxpayer money, and his crew will jump on it early. We've made the conscious decision that we're willing to pay more to free up our crew to do things that we can't necessarily contract out, you know, big blade stuff, snow blower stuff. So increasing that buildings budget is going to free up maintenance time to address other things, including the airport. The other thing we did is we added a whole new additional seasonal maintenance operator. So we've got a whole other body that will be seasonal, that will be able to attack city streets in the airport. So we're going to have, you know, that's about a $35,000 budgetary impact. Those two things are probably the biggest changes that are focused just towards snow removal beyond this policy update, which is going to, you know, let everybody know what they can expect. I think that's probably the biggest benefit of getting this policy written down, is that, you know, we'll be able to publish it, point to it, and say, this is what you can expect, and then we're going to need to stick to it. you know, we'll have to have some caveats in there because when, you know, something breaks down, you know, things happen. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Scotty. You can kind of talk about what happens when it snows.
So as you all know, you know, very busy season. So, you know, so our city streets are priority one for the city of Soldotna. And, you know, if we have extra bodies, we'll try to put them at the airport day of the snowstorm. But a lot of times we don't have it. Historically, we put the mechanics on the runway, but as the city increases, Parks and Rec increases, and we got more bodies, more equipment going all directions, I'm not able to put the mechanics on the runway as much as we used to. So that's where these new, you know, positions will come. So, you know, day one of the snowstorm, you know, our priority one's gonna be coming town. We got 2 secondary routes. We run fireweed one direction, fireweed the other, our secondaries. And then we got 2 plow trucks, 1 running gutter, 1 running truck. Get the snow in the middle. We got a main blade that runs all the, you know, in-town interiors, and then stack it. And then the following day, we'll bring the snow blowers in. And then on that day is when we'll, you know, release a crew out to the airport to start doing runway, taxiway, cross taxiway to the fuel island, get things opened up. That's kind of our priority one when we get to the airport is get the gate, get the fuel islands open, cross taxiway, you know, 725, and then ideally taxiway in the same day. And, you know, then once we get more of a crew up there, we'll start tackling aprons, you know, cross taxiways, and, you know, acres and acres of snow out there, as you guys, you know, see. So, you know, so obviously there's times we had back-to-back snowstorms, and the crew's right back in town, and we get the runway, we get the cross taxiway, we get it opened up, but we not necessarily get back to the aprons, you know, tie-down areas, west-down tie-down areas, and, you know, it starts to stack up, and we may hit Thursday, Friday, and, you know, we don't have an overtime budget for the airport because it's a small, it's a lot in the airport. So the west end, east end, you know, they may sit for the weekend, you know, it's not ideal. But, you know, our hands are kind of tied at times as far as the tie-down areas go.
Yeah, about, regarding the tie downs, you know, this policy is going to set some expectations there too, right? You know,
Yep.
There's going to need to be some cooperation, collaboration with tie down users and lessees where if they want snow to be pulled away by the big yellow iron, it's going to need to get out there by, you know, a certain time frame.
Correct.
And if it's not, then we're not going to be able to take care of it.
Right.
So that's always been a struggle too, right? We need to let folks brush their wings off, get stuff out into the taxi lanes, taxiways, so that we can get rid of it. And
I think
there's gonna be some-
communication's key, obviously. You know, right now, a lot of people know that it's gonna be, you know, a day at least. You know, ideally, we're there the next day. So they'll get their hangers pushed out, their rows, you know, their tie-down areas pushed out, and then we'll come through with the graders, windrow it, and get it out of there for them. You know, it doesn't always work out that way. You know, people do it behind us, so I think communication is gonna be key there. So ideally, having more bodies, you know, we are gonna be able to at least put that full-time operator on the runway and taxiway the day of the snowstorm, get 725 taxiway and cross taxiway done the same day, you know, that we're getting town done, and, you know, be able to move forward. So, you know, that's kind of the game plan with, and there's actually, have an on-call operator as well that we're gonna have for streets. We'll also be able to put them out there, you know, as needed, so that's kind of the idea.
Development of our policy of, you know, we've got various guidance documents. What I'm looking at right here is airside snow removal practices for small airports with limited budgets. Sounds about accurate. The other thing to note is that what we currently do is not that different than other small GA airports similar to us, particularly Palmer. You know, we reached out to Palmer and I have their policy sitting on my desk, and it's really not that different than what we're doing right now. But what we need to do is get it written on paper, make some tweaks to it and some improvements like we're doing, and then get it communicated to folks so that they know what to expect. I think that's going to alleviate a lot of the issues that have come up as well. The uncertainty of is it going to be done or is it not going to be done, and that alone will be helpful.
What forms of communication, I mean, is there any way we can have like big black and white clear signs? Every snowfall, your responsibility, our responsibility.
You mean as far as clearing, getting?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, in the policy, it's going to delineate areas of the airport. It'll say this is the prioritizations, this
But
area.
will that be, I mean, because Joe Bob comes into the airport a couple times a year, and he's going like, look at all the snow out here. Da,
Oh.
da, da. I mean, it'd be nice if we had a sign that said, on heavy snowfall days, city maintenance comes first, airport.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Commissioner Bias actually, last meeting noted that the use of social media is growing at all age demographics, except for almost. So that's one tool, but you're right, other tools to provide outreach will be important.
Because I never think of that.
Yeah,
I just thought, oh.
yeah. Yep,
I think having something to point to is,
I think it'd be very helpful for everybody.
Even if we have to redo
it's
it
never
every
gonna be
year.
a perfect system.
No.
Not everyone, not everyone's always gonna be happy. And you have people who lived here and flown here
It's tough.
for 40 years.
Ski planes
that
versus
get it,
wheels,
and
it's
then
a
there's
battle.
guys that just moved up from Florida that don't get it. And you have to have a policy to point to.
No, I think it'll be beneficial for everybody involved, so.
the policy we have, many of the policies we have are clearly written on a typewriter, so.
No, it's,
It's
and
old.
the airport's changed.
Yeah, it
And
has.
the expectations have changed, and no one wants to pay for it. I mean, I get
Right.
it,
Yeah.
everyone wants a Cadillac.
Right.
But they don't wanna pay for it.
And I ran some numbers for contracting it out, and nobody could afford it.
The other struggle with contracting it out is the equipment available.
And
Many of them
berms,
got
yeah.
motor graders, but nobody's got the big blowers,
Yeah,
and we
can't-
can't leave windrows.
Can't leave windrows at the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they gotta
There's a
be.
policy,
out.
keeping the lights cleared, keeping them, keeping all that stuff down. So that's a challenge for looking into contracting, just a matter of, dollars. And wasn't for lack of effort. I mean, we put in a lot of hours out there. I spent my fair share of time out there this winter myself, but.
So we are looking for feedback tonight, and as we go forward, email me, reach out. If you see users at the airport, feel free to talk to them and relay information to the administration, so.
So the sort of thing that you're looking for is what people are hoping to be able, or they're, something they're disgruntled with or whatever.
Just looking
How
for.
can we do it better?
Yeah, I mean, the public process is to just get all the information. I mean, we can't make promises that, ultimately what's adopted satisfies all users. Like, Chair Stinga said, that's just not gonna happen. There are gonna be different expectations. There will be folks that say, I don't care what it costs. I want it clean immediately. It doesn't matter what it costs to me. And there'll be other people that say, no, I'm good with, and there's different equipment and all kinds of different influences. So we aren't going to please everybody, but we do need to go through the public process. And, tonight we're talking about it. At the next meeting, when we have a policy that will be able to be changed by this body and adopted by this body, there's opportunity for public testimony. And we want to develop that policy with as much input as we can, whether or not that input ultimately makes it into the draft recommended policy. So at the end of the day, the administration is going to recommend a policy to you guys. And then it'll be an action item for you to modify, reject, approve, what you see fit.
Well, I know Scotty knows my opinion on it. What other users, what do you guys expect? Yeah, snow removal. Yeah, I know.
Well, I don't buy that much in the winter, but I will say this, if I knew, I think that's probably the biggest question I face. When are they gonna remove the snow? Because frankly, I don't wanna go out there and push snow into a clear taxiway either.
Hey, can I
But
get,
I know it's gonna make somebody else, I'm so sorry.
I'm going to get my hand slapped by the clerk. If you just give me your name and address. And is that green light on?
Green light's on.
Perfect.
So my name is Kim Sonner, and I live at 35595 Van Dyke Street in Snohomish. And so anyway, as a user during some of the snow season anyway, it would just be nice if I knew when the ground was.
Yeah.
That way, I'm not going to impede upon what's already been cleared and just push more snow into it. And sometimes I don't get there as quickly as maybe somebody else does. I don't know. I try to be pretty prompt, but I get there and it's like, oh my God, I need this and I'm gonna push the snow into this nice clean
Right.
taxiway.
Creates some issues.
And then saying, but if I knew, okay, 2 or 3 days, or snow goes by sometimes, I was a little slower this last year than it has been. I kind of expected that because there was just an awful lot of snow. I could have been there a little sooner too. And then I would.
Did you understand that the Scotty's crew is at the mercy of the city? I mean, they have to take care of the city first and
You know,
then,
I did not.
yeah, and I
So-
wondered if a lot of people understand that.
Well, I kind of assumed after, so like last year, the previous years anyway, it seemed like we got on it really quick, but we had no snow.
Right.
So I thought because of that previous experience that this was a dedicated crew that got out there and
Right.
in the airport, but obviously that's not the case.
So what I'm hearing here again is communication. is
Communication.
key.
Yeah.
You know, have something to point to, everybody knows what to expect. Yeah, it goes up and down, but there's something
Yep.
that is
Yep.
there.
Yeah, and we're going to be committed
He
to
knows,
meeting
I
it, yeah.
know, Mr. Bryant knows, Councilman Parker knows, everyone knows what to expect.
And I had other folks that were fairly new to me, they said, well, where do we push the snow? Well, they ain't even know where to push it, I said, well, just push it on.
That's going to be part of it too, because I think some mapping for that would work well.
I
Yeah.
would push it to like the
Yeah.
first spot or whatever, the first spot, if I had the capacity to do so. not
Right.
close enough,
Because we don't want them pushing into the lights and leaving big berms and, then it creates safety issues for other planes.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
So you'll, as I understand it, you're gonna put something together.
Kyle and I are, yep, we've
You
been
know,
tasked.
maybe, would it be possible to, once you get there, to get a little, say, reach out to a few guys and let's sit down in someone's hangar for
Mhm.
lunch, breakfast, whatever, and get some different ideas. And
If-
I think as long as the users know there's an effort being put in.
Right.
And I think that'll go a long ways.
Right.
If the commission would like to form a subcommittee that doesn't violate the Open Meetings Act, we'd love to get together. I'm throwing out big words now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We will.
And let people know that, we have one grader, one snow blower, and a loader for the airport. And the city throws a ton of iron at it that comes, out of the, general fund and.
And, a lot of things.
A lot of people
they
don't realize
need to
that as
look
well.
Here too, these numbers here, I mean, it's pretty impressive. That airport doesn't make any money. Kind of
Right.
just going along, and it costs a lot of money to move snow.
Yeah, and that's where the no
Nobody
overtime
wants
came
their
from.
tie-down rates. I don't want
Right.
my lease rates to go up.
Right.
1.23 full-time equivalent employees. So she's pretty lean and mean.
Yeah.
Rates are rock
But it
bottom.
still costs a lot of money. I mean,
It
at the end
does.
of the day,
It does.
Oh, yeah.
it's fuel, snow removal. I mean, it costs
That's
a lot of
there.
money.
Okay. We will reach out for commission members to volunteer to participate in the subcommittee. So I'll send an email. Sound good?
And just for summer maintenance, our spring birding season was pretty, I don't know if you guys are seeing as pilots, not a ton of hazing we had to do, getting rid of the duck pond as part of our last project, so it was huge. We got a new pond forming at the one end, but we're gonna address that. So, very few, I don't know what you guys are seeing as pilots, I'm open for feedback, but I had to haze very few birds this spring, considering years before, so it's
No cranes at all.
huge difference, so.
I didn't see any cranes out
It's
there.
successful devegetating and getting rid of the pond and the things we're doing with these projects as well, not just asphalt. Some of these ideas we've come up with for devegetating and water is making a huge difference to our airport, to make the bird hazing, it's safer flying zone, so bonus.
Okay. City manager, report from city manager Queen. There is none, any public comments?
Anyway, glad I made it, because I haven't made any of these before.
How much did you make this one?
Glad to have you.
Give me your,
Anyway, first, my name's Jim Sonner,
Got
35595 Van Dyke Street, Alaska. And, first of all, I'd like to say, I really do enjoy our facility. It's a nice facility, and I do appreciate everything that gets done there. It's difficult to keep up, just sort of resurfacing things all the time, keeping the lawns down and all that stuff. I really do appreciate it. But I'm here to, and maybe this has come up in the past, obviously, I've never been here before, but the cone on the gravel. So, I don't know if somebody's having a hard time finding that gravel strip or what, but, I can tell you that, last year, and I'm a low time for everybody. I 180. I went up and the winds were 2 miles an hour, and by the time I got back that first go around to go land, it was 18 crosswind, and $13,000 for a little ding on the. So, you know, I can attribute that maybe to a low-time pilot, who, last week, with a high-time pilot, and same aircraft, or same type of aircraft, 180, and a little bit of dust on the windshield, I was in the right seat, and sun was shining in the right direction, you know, aiming for the center line, but not quite at the center line, and it was inches from me getting the cone. Now, if those cones weren't weighted, it might make a difference. If they were moved 5 feet out from the gravel, it might make a difference. That's a 60-foot strip. And while, you know, we should be able to hit that in the center line, we just always can't, especially with those tail grinders that everything's on the pedal. Either move them out, or I know you're gonna move another purpose. Get rid of them, or put shorter ones down, or something that's not this high, so that it's whacking a tail whenever you get too close to it. I can't have been the only one, ever, to put one of those tails out there again.
I honestly didn't realize they were that tall.
We-
The
Mr.
reason is for snow, so they don't go away during winter time is, you know, why they spec that as far as the, you know, engineers go. So that's, you know, that's what was spec'd when they built the gravel strip. But that being said, I'm not a, you know, I'm not an engineer or, you know.
Quick point, are you talking about threshold cones or parallel?
I'm talking parallel to the
Okay.
the strip itself. The threshold cone's not a problem, and nobody should be hitting one of those things. They should be able to get in and out, you know, the threshold is maximum. When you're hitting that strip at 60, and you're, you know, 65, you know, and you're trying to keep that thing straight down the center, you know, if there's a crosswind or something, it's not always that easy to do. I don't care how many hours you have. So, you know, it's 60 feet wide, that's it. It's not like it's the hard pavement. Anyway, those are my comments, and hopefully we can make some adjustments with that and make it a little bit easier for some folks.
I'll look into it.
How's the new gravel? How's the new gravel?
Oh, it's good, good, good.
Any other public comments? Mr. Bryant? Council comments, Council Member Parker?
Thank you, Chair Stinga. As Kyle mentioned, we did adopt an amended biennium budget for fiscal year '23, and all departments, it was fuel, additional fuel, some adjustments with PERS as well. We had a work session on the Soldotna Regional Sports Complex Field Health, and we are potentially going to be moving forward with bringing that up for a vote in October. And maybe see what the voters think about moving that complex forward. Interesting to note that the population that's served by the sports complex and the field house, it's not just the city of Soldotna, but East Hurricane Crack Center Peninsula. You know, we're talking 37,000 people that would be utilizing that facility. It's everything that we do here in the city. It's not just for the city of Soldotna, but it's for our communities that are at-large communities. We extended our city manager's contract, and Stephanie will be on for another 2 years. Things continue to go well at the city, and potentially, as you know, potentially there's going to be upgrades to the Sterling Highway from 8 Mile Cliff to McBee to mainly 1. And it will take us to 2026, and it's going to be 2024. So lots of stuff is going on in our area.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? Any comments from the commissioners? Well, the June 16th, 2022 Airport Commission meeting is now adjourned.